Well, you can see from our announcement that we like to eat. And the ladies are having a lunch today after church. If you want to join them, stop by the welcome table if you need some information about that. I'm sure they'd love for you to join them. It's not too late. And then next Saturday, guys, we're meeting for lunch at Agave 2 on Nova Road. My daughter, Olivia, asked if she could come to that. I was like, it's a men's lunch. She's like, I don't care. I like all these guys. And I was like, well, can you eat like a man? That's the real challenge. And she assured me she could. So we'll see. But yeah, it's always a great time to hang out with the other guys in church. If you don't know, a lot of people, this is a good way for you to make friends and get to know one another. And again, also we have a lot of small groups that meet during the week. You can find out about that on our website. We'd love for you to jump into one of those small groups. We have one at our house on Tuesday nights, and it's life-giving. We really enjoy being with one another. Last time we met on Tuesday, we just sat outside with a little bonfire. We just made a little campfire and we sang some songs and just talked a little bit about this passage of scripture, but we just have a good time together, and I hope that you will consider that. Next week is Friend Day, so pick up some Friend Day cards on your way out today at the welcome table and invite. All you got to do is invite people. Just say, hey, would you come to church with me? We'd love to have you. It's a special day, and I don't want to be the only person sitting there without a friend. Like I do every Sunday. And, church is just so much better when you got some friends here. And, the number one way to reach people is just inviting them. It's that simple. It's not having a fabulous pastor. It's not having a great worship team. You have all that, and, you're blessed. But the real way to grow is just don't fight. That's number one. Quit fighting, and then invite people. Just ask people to come with you. And not everybody will say yes, but that's okay. Some people will. And so we just invite. We're not commanded to make people come to church. We're commanded to invite them. And so we do that because the Lord tells us to. Just like He tells us to give, He tells us to worship, He tells us to make sacrifices, and He tells us to go out into all the world and make disciples and be a witness and a testimony to what God has done in your life. We are doing a Bible study in Hebrews, and we're in chapter 12. It's hard to believe we've gone all the way through this book, and we're coming down to the end of it. And this is where the rubber hits the road, you might say. This is where things get real. And this letter has been written to encourage believers to not give up. And you got to ask yourself, why would you want to give up? I mean, God is so good, and Jesus is Lord, and His church is amazing. And why would you give up? Well, there's a lot of forces at work in this world, in their day, 2,000 years ago, and in our day, that could defeat you and discourage you to the point that you just want to quit. You could just be so hard on yourself because you don't feel like you're doing this well. You're like, I'm trying to be a Christian. I'm trying to live for God. But it's so difficult. There's so many bad habits in my life, or so many ingrained patterns. And maybe your friend network around you is not supportive of this, or your family unit around you is not supportive of your faith. And you can get easily discouraged. You can just feel like, I'm not doing very good at this. And the devil just magnifies your failures and your inconsistencies. And the reality is we all have these inconsistencies. None of us live the disciples' life perfectly. We're always growing. If you're not growing, the point of growing is that we have room to grow. We all have room to grow. And none of us are going to live this Christian life perfectly. We're not saved by our Christian life. We're saved by Christ's life. And we got to get our focus and our attention back on Him. And so you could easily get discouraged. You could easily get distracted. You could just be so focused on other things. There's so many good other things out there. I mean, this weekend is Biketoberfest, right? Is that what we call it? It's not Bike Week. That's what, in March. And then this is like our little Biketober. They just find ways to make money. They just figure out ways to make money. And, you could give your life to motorcycles and boats. We were just singing that song about buy me a boat. And wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be fun if you had a rich uncle that you didn't know pass away and give you a whole bunch of money, and you could get that Jeep, and you could get those jet skis, you could get that boat and that F-150, and maybe you've already got all those things. There's probably a few of you that are like, all right, I've had all that. I got the camper, I've got the whole Barbie set, the Corvette, the camper, the plane. Didn't you even have a plane for a while? And a lot of people have so many blessings, and it's so easy to get distracted with those things. The pursuit of those, the chasing of those. The reality is you got bills that are due. You got bills that are due, and, the government isn't going to pay them for you. Not yours, maybe somebody else's, but not your bills. And so you got to go to work. And you go to work and you spend so much of your energy and so much of your time and so much of your focus of your attention on work. You hardly have anything left over for your family. They get whatever's left, and then you crash and burn every night watching CSI or NCIS or Matlock or whatever it is, your Murder, She Wrote, whatever it is you're watching. And you're just numb. Like you got nothing left. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get discouraged, easy to get depressed. And the enemy knows you and knows what buttons to push to try to get you out of this. And this letter is written for people like you. Don't quit. Don't stop. We're in a race. We're in a marathon. And there's going to be some times where you're running uphill and there's a rock in your shoe, and the people on the sidelines, you look to see if your family's there to cheer you on, and they're not there. They're sitting there eating donuts on the... This is actually very personal. My wife, a long time ago, she entered a mini marathon. 13 miles is nothing to laugh at. That's 13 miles. That's a long way, to run. And so she trained and ran marathon. She didn't know it at the time, but she was actually pregnant. I think it was with Harrison. And so she ran a marathon, like that. And as she came around the corner, I had all the other kids because I'm responsible to not lose any of these guys, while she's doing this marathon. And we got a box of donuts. And we're cheering her on as she's running. She's just looking at us like, donuts, really? Like, we got to build our carbs up, It's a lot of energy watching the race, Got to have my energy. You're in a marathon. And some Christians live the Christian life like it's a sprint. You go to camp, you're at a bonfire, Brother Carl speaks about the fire and the flame, and you get all motivated and excited and scared, and you give your life to Jesus, you raise your hand, you shake hands with the preacher, you're baptized in the pool, and man, you're excited. You're so filled with fire, you want everybody to know what you now know. You want everybody to come to Jesus. You want everybody, you remember that. Some of you, it was a long, long time ago. And it was like a little sprint. And there's been other moments maybe in your life where perhaps you were facing some doctor's report or some bad news or a judge or a principal, or your marriage was falling apart, and it was another sprint. It was another rush and race and get as close to God as I can. I'm in a panic. I need your help, Lord. Please, whatever, bail me out of this. And you're in another sprint. But the Christian life is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Sometimes it'll be downhill, and sometimes it's uphill, and some twisted, turny corners, and every once in a while, the person next to you falls down. You got to stop and pick them up and help them keep going. And that's really what the writer of this letter is doing. Is he's got some runners that are losing heart. They're losing their way. They're losing their focus. They're losing their energy. They're being overwhelmed by the obstacles and overwhelmed by the hurdles, and they're tired and they're scared. And so he goes back into the Old Testament in chapter 11, and he looks at all these heroes of the faith, Abraham, Moses, David, and he points out all these guys, men and women, some well-known, some not so well-known, but all of them have the same challenge that we have, to be faithful in their day, in their generation, and to not give up, to remain devoted with all of the obstacles in front of them. And he says, now, you guys are in the race, and there's this cloud of witnesses, like all of the church that's gone before you, and all the saints that have gone before you. They're in the arena, and they're cheering for you, the church of this day, of this age. They've passed the baton to you, and now your time to run is now. And yes, you're weary, and you get some difficult moments, and your leg is cramping, and you're not on your home court. and you feel discouraged and you want to quit. But this has been passed to us. And we've got to be faithful in this generation and pass this baton to the next generation. And not allow our fears or our discouragements or our distractions to defeat us. Because that's what the enemy wants, to defeat us. To defeat you in your Christian walk, to defeat you as a husband, as a father, as a wife, as a mom, as a grandparent. He wants to destroy and disrupt and turn the hearts of the kids against their fathers and the hearts of the fathers against their kids. But we are not alone in this. The Spirit of God is with us and moving among us and moving in our midst. And look at verse 4 of chapter 12. He says, in your struggle against sin, and you know what he's talking about there is this daily battle where there's the old part of you that wants to give in to what's comfortable, to what's easy, the path of least resistance. It could be sloth and laziness, complacency and apathy. It could just be outright wickedness, like hedonism, like whatever feels good for the moment. I don't care about the consequences. I don't care. It's my body, my life. I'll do what I want. Man, we have a strong dose of that in our culture right now. And he's like, every day we as believers have to sacrifice ourselves and our flesh on the altar and surrender our bodies over to the Lord as a pleasing and worshipful sacrifice to God. And every day it's a battle. You take up your cross daily and follow me. And he says, in this struggle against sin, the struggle to remain faithful to God, to stay devoted to the Lord, in your struggle against sin, I know you're weary, I know you're hurting, I know you're frustrated, I know some of you are scared, you feel like you're losing, you feel like you're falling behind. He says, listen, you have not yet resisted to the point in which you've shed your blood for the kingdom. Now, when he went back into chapter 11, he pointed out many people who actually did. That they stood faithful to God against the sword. They stood faithful to God against the giants, against lions, against fire, against kings that were set on their destruction. They literally gave their lives for their faith, for God. They were not only faithful until their death, they were faithful and it caused or brought about their death. And he's like, you guys, I get it, you're discouraged. I get it that you feel alone, you feel trapped, you feel stuck, whatever it is. But he's like, remember, there are many who've come before us that have paid a higher price than we have paid to this day. Now one day, these believers, they may actually give their lives for their faithfulness to God. It's very likely some of them will, because the persecution that's coming, we know from history that the Roman persecution against the Christians only intensifies from this moment. And some of them may actually give their life, shed their blood for the faith. And he said he's encouraging them by saying, look, there's more problems coming. I know you're feeling like you're overwhelmed right now, but it's not always going to get easier. Sometimes it's going to get more difficult and more challenging. And you might in that moment think, where's God? Why has he abandoned us? Why isn't God rushing in and saving us? I mean, he was there for Moses and the children of Israel, bringing them out of Egypt. He was there for Daniel against the lions. He was there for the Hebrew children in the fire. Where's God in our moment? And in that dark, scary, desperate moment, it's very likely that you might start wondering if God is really for you. Why isn't he rescuing you? And so he's going to shift to talk about that. Now, if you live long enough, you're going to have these moments in your life. And yeah, it may be corporately, who knows what the future of our country is, what the future of our world is. I mean, the experts are telling us we're very likely looking at some kind of World War III coming. We don't know. We don't know. It's easy to say that our culture is becoming more hostile against believers and against the Christian faith, against the church. And we don't know what the future looks like for us as believers in this age, in this world. We know in other parts of the world, people literally give their lives for their Christian witness, for their Christian faith. We don't know what the future holds for us in terms of what man will do to us. But certainly, if we live long enough in this life outside of the Garden of Eden, there will be times when you will wonder, does God even care about me? Is he even here with me? I mean, I hear these sermons about whoever's for us is greater than the one that's against us, and greater is he that is in me than he that's in the world, and all these things were more than conquerors. I hear all this talk and all these verses quoted, but when you're in the hospital with no answers, or you're in the courthouse with no defense, or in the funeral home, looking over somebody that you love that was taken way too soon, way too early. You're looking at this person, you're like, this person was such a godly person, such a great person, such a wonderful witness. Why did they have cancer? Why did they have such a hard, difficult death? If God is for us, if he loves us and he's all powerful, why doesn't he rescue us? And all of us at times will struggle with these questions. Sometimes you'll get answers for them. Sometimes you don't. And you may wonder, is God really with us? Because it looks like we're on the losing team. I mean, look out there. They've got everything. They're happy, they're excited, they got money, they got wealth, they got fame, they got prosperity, and then look at his church over there. Poor, alone, defeated, rejected. Wow, why would you want to be a part of that when the world offers so much? And you may wonder, like, are we really on the winning team here? Because it looks like we're alone. It looks like we're defeated. You're going to at times feel like you're on the losing team. And he says in verse 7, endure those moments. Endure those hardships. Endure them. And, well, yeah, but how do I make sense of this? I get it. You want me to endure, not give up, to persevere, to keep going. But where's God? Why isn't he rescuing us? Is he with us? And he says, endure that moment as if it's discipline from God. You say, what, God is disciplining us? We're being persecuted, we're being punished, we're going through all these challenges and obstacles, I'm facing disease and disorder and bankruptcy and divorce. I'm facing all these things because God is punishing me? Are you really saying that? He's punishing us? It doesn't say punishing, it says discipline. You know, when a person decides to lose weight, some of you guys have tried this. Some of you have been successful, and some of us repeat cycles. But if you were to decide January 1st, let's keep it there, after Thanksgiving, the holiday, you decide, you know what, I've got to lose this 20 pounds. I got to lose this 30 pounds. I can't drink all this caffeine. I can't eat all these Little Debbies. I can't eat all these chips. I gotta make some changes. And so you pick a diet, whatever it is. They're all terrible. There's not a good one. You pick a diet, and you decide to go with it, and then you decide you're going to sign up for the gym, you're going to exercise, you're going to walk, you're going to lift weights, you're going to do cardio, you're going to get a trainer, whatever it is you decide to do. Whether or not you're successful comes down to one word: discipline. Can you make yourself do what you don't want to do? Because it's what you need to do. That's what discipline is. Discipline is, I wake up, I don't want to make my bed. I don't want to. I want it made, but I don't want to make it. I don't feel like making myself do what needs to be done. I don't want to discipline myself. I would rather just do something else I enjoy. But then you don't have a made bed. And then before you know it, you don't have clothes put away. And then you have shoes everywhere, and you have trash coming out of the trash can. You got cans all over your... Do any of your teenagers, any of you guys know what I'm talking about? You have kids like this? Because you got to learn, I got to take care of this. I have to own. I have to take responsibility. I have to make myself do what I don't want to do so that I can have what I really want in life. One of the best lessons you'll ever learn is if you want what you want, you got to do what you don't want to do. In order to get where you want to be, you got to do what you don't want to do. You got to make yourself do the right thing. And sometimes we can give into that a lot easier than other times. There's times when we're like at war with ourselves. I need to finish my book report. I need to read and finish and write it and get it done. But what do? Procrastinate, delay. And then the weekend before it's due, everybody's in a panic. Mom's got to rush in and read this book with you. And then there's yelling and there's screaming and there's crying. And you guys know the rest. Because you don't want to discipline yourself. And here's a good general rule in life. If you don't discipline yourself, somebody else will. It's like the kid who says, I can't stand living with mom and dad and all their rules. I'm sick and tired of this. Well, what are you going to do, Johnny? I'm going to join the Marines. Good. That sounds great. That sounds like a really good idea. You should definitely do that. And then what will he find out? Wow, mom and dad were pretty easy, really. Wow, they were pretty easy compared. And it's amazing, like often kids who don't have a lot of discipline in their life will often put themselves in environments where they are disciplined because we long for it. We need it. We need the stability and the structure that discipline provides. And it might be a martial arts program. It might be a football team or band. It could be the ROTC or the Marines. It could be prison. And if finally no other form of discipline will work, there's always that one waiting. And in that place, you will follow instructions. You will follow orders. You will follow rules. Far better, isn't it, for us to go ahead and discipline ourselves rather than to wait to be disciplined by someone else? I've never wanted to raise my kids, our kids. I've never wanted to raise our kids where we have to control them. I don't want that much responsibility in my life. I don't want to have to control all the decisions my kids make. What do I want? I want them to be self-controlled. And there's a big difference. Some parents never get this lesson. Their kids are 20 and they're still trying to control everything. They're still trying to make all the decisions for them and putting all kinds of restrictions and rules and punishments and screaming and yelling, and none of it's working. Because for whatever reason, this young person has never learned to control themselves. You've always been there to control them. And so this is a fine line of dance that we play as parents, of backing up and letting them make decisions and letting them receive the consequences or the rewards of those decisions. And in this passage, he's saying, look, don't think too hard about why these bad things are happening to you. Because you're going to go, it's going to take you somewhere really dark. You're going to start saying, well, maybe God doesn't care about us. Maybe God doesn't love us. It looks like the enemy's winning. It looks like the church is losing, like we're defeated. Maybe God really is abandoned. It's going to take you somewhere very dark. Don't overthink this. Just assume God's always in control. He's always in control. Now, he's not the initiator of evil against you. God is for us. He's not the initiator of evil against you. But he will, at times, allow evil to come upon you. You say, why would he do that? Doesn't he care about us? Well, remember in the garden he said, don't eat from that tree. And the day you do, there's going to be consequences. And we live in this world now that is a wilderness And everything's against us in this world. The ground is against us. Remember, he cursed the ground. The animals want to eat us. The plants want to make us allergic. And even in marriages and in families, we turn against each other. God is not against us, but this world is not our home, and this is not our destiny. We're created for something more beyond this life, where there will be no more mourning or crying or pain, and the old order of things will pass away, and all things will become new. But in this life, Jesus said, you'll have trouble. And he's like, if you ever wonder, watch what they do to me. Watch how they treat me. And that's how you can expect. Now, was God against Jesus? No, of course not. Jesus was working a plan that God was behind, but Jesus suffered in this life. And you and I are no different. He has blazed a trail for us, and that trail includes suffering. Yes, there's victories. Yes, there's joy. Yes, there's celebration, but there's also suffering. And there's loneliness. And there's hunger and there's poverty on this path as well. And he says, don't worry and try to solve it all or try to figure it all out. Just assume God is in control, and whatever we're going through, he's using it in our lives to discipline us. You mean he's trying to punish us? No, I'm not saying he's trying to punish. Now, maybe sometimes. He has the right, doesn't he? I mean, sometimes we need to be punished. I mean, really. Come on. You guys raised kids, you know. Sometimes you got to get up off of the couch and you got to mean what you say. You can't just bark orders at them. You got to follow through. God sometimes allows us to experience the negative consequences of our choices. Whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. But the rain falls on the righteous and the unrighteous. And sometimes you reap stuff that you didn't sow. And there's sometimes other people mean evil against you. And there will be suffering in this life. So God's abandoned us. No. God's using and allowing all of this calamity in our life for a purpose. It's disciplining us. Discipline is not always punishment. Discipline is, help me to make it through this so I'm stronger. Why would you go to a gym? It's not fun. It's not fun. It's not. I've tried to make it fun. It's not fun. You put headphones on of your favorite music and you can kind of lose yourself in that moment, but it's not fun. It doesn't feel good. You feel better when you're done. It feels awful. Have any of you guys ever tried to bend over and tie your shoes and your face turns red? And you feel all of this pushing against you? That's not a good feeling. It's a bad feeling. Or you put your pants on and you're like, these don't fit right. It's not a good feeling. And so what do? You go endure other bad feelings so that you can feel better later. Discipline is you choosing the difficult path so that you can have the reward later. In other words, Lord, you are free to disrupt my comfort now so that I can have comfort in the future. And many of us never win this battle. We're so committed to our comfort right now and our peace right now and our harmony right now that we will sacrifice our futures for it. You remember Jacob and Esau? Esau went out, was hungry. He comes back in. I want something to eat. I'm hungry. I've been hunting all day. And Jacob, little mama's boy's in there cooking his dinner. And he's like, well, he makes this soup, this stew. And he gives it to Esau on one condition. Sell me your birthright, and you can have this porridge I made. You can have this soup I made, this lentil stew I made. He's all in there chopping up sage and onions and garlic. Mama's little biscuit eater making dinner. While Esau, the man of the house, is out hunting, hairy, gruff. And Esau comes in and he looks at his dad's estate and he's like, this ain't worth nothing anyway. You can have it all. Just give me something to eat. Jacob's like, can we shake hands on this? And Esau gave away his birthright for a dinner right now. And you think, that's so stupid. Why would you give up your future for comfort right now? But all of us do this. We give up our futures for comfort, for harmony, for peace, for stability, to fit in with the group we're in, to please a boy, to impress a girl. And we give up our long term to have what we want in the short term. And man, the enemy loves this. This is his biggest tactic probably against us, is I can give you what you shouldn't have. Just don't do it God's way, do it my way. I'll give it to you now. And we step into the trap where the Bible says we are not ignorant of the devil's schemes against us. And so he lures us into a trap. And he says, God disciplines us, verse 10, God disciplines us for our good. Let me translate that or paraphrase that. You're going to go through hard times. God's not always going to rescue you in the moment. He's going to allow you to do it because it serves a greater purpose. It's bigger than you. And you're going to, in those moments, wonder, where's God? And why has he abandoned me? And how come the preacher didn't call me? And where's my small group? And I read my Bible and yet nothing's changing. I'm praying for a miracle. Maybe I'm not praying the right way. Maybe I need to change the way I'm praying. Maybe there's sin in my camp. There's sin in my life. You know what? There is sin in your camp. Always. There's always sin in your life. If you know the good you ought to do and fail to do it, the Bible says it's sin. All of us. Well, maybe I need to give $1,000. If I give $1,000 to that guy on TV, then I'll get the year of Jubilee blessing. Maybe instead of trying to get out of the obstacle, maybe you should just thank God for the obstacle. Say, Lord, I would never choose this. I would never pick it. If you let me choose what happens next in my life, I wouldn't put this as a part of it. But I'm not in control. I'm not God. I don't have to figure all these things out. What I got to do is I got to be faithful through whatever obstacle comes. Because going to the gym, you don't go there so you feel better in the moment. You go there so that you can be better. You go there so you can be stronger. Because you know what? One day, you're going to get a water cooler in your house. Your wife's going to say, you know what? I don't like this Port Orange water. We need to get one of those water coolers. And it's going to be your job to put that big 5-gallon water bottle on top of that without spilling it everywhere. And you're going to wish you would have gone to the gym so that you got a little bit of strength. Let me say it this way. Things might get a lot harder for you, and you'll be prepared for those because of what you've already been through. And so, no suffering, no problem, no pain needs to be wasted. You might be going through something right now just so that you can connect with somebody later who's going to go through what you're going through now. And you can say, oh yeah, honey, I know exactly what, yep, oh yeah, we were there. Oh yeah, divorce court, we've been there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, hospital. Oh, emergency room, ambulance, 3 a.m. Yep, done it. Let me tell you how God met me in that moment when I had nowhere else to turn. When I couldn't fix it. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't solve it. Oh, yeah. It was hard. It was tough. It was challenging. Yep, we wanted to give up. Yep, we wanted to quit. Yep, But God's used that. And He's brought us closer together. He didn't take it away. We're still going through it. Accept it as though it's discipline from God. And he says, no discipline seems fun in the moment. It all seems bad. It all seems painful. But it's doing something for you. It produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who are trained by it. Therefore, listen to what he says. Therefore, strengthen your feeble arms. How do you strengthen? With resistance. Every weightlifter understands. You're not going to get stronger if you don't have resistance. And the resistance tears down your muscles. It makes them hurt. It makes you hurt. And you're going to go through moments of resistance and frustration and pain and misery. Don't try to get out of it. It's making you stronger. It's making your testimony stronger. It's making your witness stronger. Instead, God, give me the strength to endure. Strengthen my feeble arms. Make level paths for my feet. In other words, you can do it. You can keep going. I know you're on mile 22 of a 26-mile marathon, and you're done, you're exhausted, you're weak, you're hurting. All of the good runners have already passed the finish line long ago, and you're just trying to finish, and now it's raining. And you want to be done. And I understand it. Don't quit. Don't stop. There's a cloud of witnesses surrounding you that have all made it, and they're all saying, go one more step. If God will pick your foot up, you put it down. He'll pick it up again, you put it down again. He'll pick it up again, you put it down again. Don't stop. Don't quit. Keep going. Your family needs you. Your church needs you. Your nation needs you. Don't sell it for a meal today. Don't give away your birthright. Don't give away your future. Don't sacrifice all that God has done for you to be comfortable, to fit in for this moment. This moment will come and will pass, but eternity is forever. So at this time in our service, if you're ready to commit yourself to Christ, to know Him as your Lord and Savior, to renew your dedication, your commitment to Him, we want to come alongside of you and encourage you to do that. You can text the word decision to the number on the screen. You can stay after the service is over and meet with me down front here. You can, on your way out, stop at our prayer table and talk to the prayer leaders out there. If you need your church to surround you and to help you, and you say, I'm done, I can't go any further, I'm exhausted, I'm depleted, I've got nothing left, I don't even know why I'm here today, but for some reason God has me here today, we'll start there.